Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise here from the Sea Scout Club in Giza on the banks of the River Nile. You know, dear viewers, the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in schools shut all across the world for months. Over 1.2 billion children were out of the classroom. As a result, education has changed dramatically with a distinct rise of e-learning, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platforms. That's along, of course, with taking up the exams or doing the projects and so on. And research suggests that online learning has been shown to increase retention of information and take less time, meaning the changes coronavirus have caused might be here to stay. With us now here is Dr. Ibrahim Tehewy, UN Counselor for Training and Development and a member of the International Parliament for Human Development and certified trainer to talk to us about this very important subject. Dr. Tehewy, thank you for joining.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise, sir. Sir, to start with today's, of course, interview, I'd like to ask you, with regard to online, of course, education, which is taking place nowadays in light of the, of course, corona pandemic. Of course, students are going back to schools in a few days. We still did not witness this. Of course, we're going to be having another interview with you after they're back again in school. But do you think that online training meets and is the same level of face-to-face education from your point of view?
First of all, I'd like to appreciate the great efforts exerted by Dr. Tariq Shawi. And when I appreciate, I'm not trying to beautify the picture.
We understand,
but
sir. We all understand that Dr. Tariq Shawi did
Yes.
great effort, and it's
Yeah,
great to,
yeah.
from here, from Nile Cruise and from
Mhm.
Nile TV International,
Yeah.
to mention the efforts that Dr. Shawi really, as a Minister of Education, he really paid too much effort to try his best to make it time to time, minute by minute, and
Yeah.
give every single school, in national and international, its own share where they deserved actually, and he deserves all appreciation from all
That's right.
Egyptians, from all Egyptian parents and all Egyptian that really understand what the meaning of education.
That's right, because many parents, first I'd like to say, indicate this point of view, it's very, very important. Many parents, because they don't know how to teach
Deal.
their students and how to deal, and in the same time, some teachers try to reject, okay, and they criticize for criticism, for criticizing, without trying to develop or improve. Here I am lucky because I wrote in 2013, it's due time to change the paper exam, which is actually happening now. So my point of view was to change the traditional paper exam to electronic one. And I thank Allah because this happened. And I sent my point of view to Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nasr. He was ex Minister of
Which
Education.
is, he was a former, yes, he
That's
was,
right.
but Mr. Mahmoud Abu Nasr is worth, of course, all respect and appreciation as well.
That's right.
Yes,
And he was
is,
mainly
'cause he was
concerned.
yes, he was.
He was concerned, so I sent him my point of view, which I actually applied, which was electronic exam instead of traditional exam. You may ask me why. Because I see in my point of view that most of the teachers in correction, if you are observing, okay, what's happening in correction, you will find some kind of chaos happening, and most of the teachers don't give the right to its owners, to the students. Don't say that in Thanawiya Amma or third prep, for example, the students, any student takes his rights. This is not happening. And when I observe that, I'm talking in the fields. I'm in the fields, okay? So I'm not coming from umbrella and talking, no, I'm in the field, so I'm talking honestly and frankly speaking. At the same time, when I said that we have to change paper exam to electronic one, my point of view was to give the students his rights. I took the point of view from ICDL exam. I think most of the parents and the viewers know what I mean. I said in the article in 2013, many years or 7 years before, that submit by choices questions, submit, takes what the student takes his results, and what I want, what I added to make something called certified center. certified exam center. And I hope Dr. Tariq Shawi makes something like that. Why? Because I want, after finishing the exam, I want the student take his results directly. This is what's going to happen because Dr. Tariq Shawi declared that this is going to happen after submitting the exam. It will be like choices, okay, no written or article or what we call literal questions, and submitting. He is going to take what his exact mark without interfering of teacher and correction. I'd like to say that before because I rejected or criticized the point of view of the ministry when they use a tablet. Okay, what after tablet? Tablets again corrected in the head office of the quarter of exams. I didn't want that because I didn't want any teacher to interfere in correction at all, because I want any student in Tehewy or any stage to take his right, and this is what I was dreaming and it actually happened. What I want to add also, excuse me, online education. I also wrote, I'm lucky, I'm not okay expecting the future or predicting the future, but as if I was predicting the future. When I wrote an article in 2018 called in Arabic,
2018?
2018,
18.
before coronavirus and something like that, or COVID-19, talking about its due time to apply online education. As if I was writing and predicting what's going to happen from COVID-19 or coronavirus. So I wrote that. Why? I wrote that because I found most of the teachers are mainly concerned on private lessons. So I tell all teachers in front of me now, why don't you give half an hour every day, okay, for your students to send them? We have something called WhatsApp, for example, or Facebook, okay? In WhatsApp, he can send any piece of information or drama, summary, Macbeth, Hamlet, Merchant of Venice, poetry, novel, grammar, whatever the branch of knowledge in English he wants to, or whatever the subject he wants to convey or teach his students. That's okay? After sending here we are solving what? The problem of capacity, which we suffer in the field of education, whether in governmental schools or experimental schools. You know that in experimental schools or governmental schools, we suffer from a capacity. Maybe I'm asking a principal of one of the schools. He told me that we have here 120 students per class. So how can we solve a problem like that? So my point of view was to use or apply online education side by side with face-to-face education. I didn't mean to neglect or prevent or stop face-to-face education, especially in primary stage. It's very, very important. And this is happening actually. If you read my article, you would read every details in my article. So I thank Dr. Tariq Shawi. I thank Allah firstly because my point of view has been achieved.
Okay, sir, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to ask you a very important question. Did you see that online education prevented private lessons?
Yeah.
Or did you see that private lessons increased during the online education? Because, for example, my daughter does not get to, she did not get acquainted to online education till now.
That's right. Okay. My son is like your daughter. He is in third prep. He is going to shift or transfer to first, second. That's right. What is the problem? What is the obstacle? Why don't we tell our students that online education is better for them? You may ask me why, as a parent. Okay. Here, firstly, we are going to protect them from coronavirus and the groups in centers, okay, for private, which may be 30, which may be 40 and more, okay? Can you let your son or daughter to go in this huge number? I think no. So we are solving the first problem, which is sitting among group of students. This is the first problem. After that, most of our sons and the daughters all the time playing PUBG, okay? So they actually use what? Internet most of the time. So if I ask him or her to try hard as far as she can to watch some lessons, some private lessons online, what's the problem of that? She is going to understand and she is going to chat. We have many programs. I don't want to mention the programs, okay, not to be kind of advertising. So here, I'd like to indicate this point of view. You are going to sit at home all the students. And if any parent want to help them, okay, if they are busy, I know most of the parents are busy, but I am going as a student to sit at home, drinking the cup of tea, that's okay, and enjoying listening to this session. Okay, if I neglected or if I didn't have the time to watch this episode, what will happen? I have the time to watch it again and again and again. And here also are going to indicate my point of view. I am talking here about psychological states. Most of the students, are they equals? No. That's okay? We have a level of between the students, 50% to 100%. So if a student, if my son, for example, level is 70%, I think by listening most of the time, listening more and more and more to this session, whatever the subject he is going to watch at home, I think we are going to achieve the target, which is what? To reach 100%. Is this okay or not? This what I am here talking with the tongue or by the tongue as if I were Dr. Tariq Shawi. I'm not as again beautifying the picture, but I want to talk about the actual truth. When I, for your surprise, that don't be surprised when I say that, when I shared my article among the groups of Facebook for teachers, you can't imagine all teachers criticize my point of view
Why?
because I hear when I wrote the article, I'm going to prevent private lessons, and I'm talking frankly here that most of the teachers or 99% of the teacher want what? Private lessons and nothing else. So I'm here, don't be angry with me. Here we have to work for the benefit of what? For yourself as a teacher only,
And our
or
kids,
for the benefit of our,
students.
if we consider them our sons, not only our, okay, so the relation, if we change the relation between a teacher and his students as a father and a son, everything will be solved, believe me. But the problem in last week, excuse me, I was giving a session in the new innovation of what's going to happen. You can't imagine how come I found criticism, but I thank Allah because I managed to what? To convince them that we have to do online education side by side with what? Face-to-face education. And I asked them, please, if you give half an hour every day for your students, everything will be solved, everything will be okay, and the students will be at home most of the time, listening to their lessons most of the time. In the same time, they are going to understand because they are what? Living in a quiet atmosphere. Some students, and I practice that with some students in some international schools and some universities students, that they suffer from capacity. You know, in capacity, huge capacity, they suffer from what? Suffer from chaos, suffer from noise, and they don't understand as it should be. Now we are going to stay at home. And I'm not going to oblige you to go to school every day. No, you know that in primary stage you are going to go
Maybe 2 days
for
per
four
day.
days, okay, to third primary, and from fourth primary to sixth primary they are going to go 3 days. Prep and secondary they are
Two
going to
days.
2 days only. And here Dr. Tariq Shawi left the allowance and the freedom to the principal of each school to apply his point of view according to his circumstances. So I'd like here to appreciate this piece of news. Why? Because here this is diplomatic, as we say, decision, because he left the freedom to every principal of every manager of the school according to his circumstances to do whatever he
So
wants.
should we expect this to last for the entire academic year, or is it too early to predict what's going to happen? Because of course the developments of COVID-19 will have its say.
Here, if I were the Minister of Education, can we expect what was going to happen next year? We can't expect. You know that the health organization from time to time announce that take care because the next
Wave.
autumn,
Yeah.
okay, or the next fall, something may happen. So here, as a Minister of Education, I'm dealing with every session according to the requirements. Okay, so we don't want to
Okay.
be in a hurry, and we are going to deal with every situation in its
Accordingly.
accurate time.
Allow me to ask you a couple of questions, Dr. Ibrahim. First of all, I understood that it's more important that face-to-face education is more crucial for younger students. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What about university students? What about those who are going to university for the first time? You know, they're entering university level this year, and they're going to start university online.
Yeah.
You know, what's the likely effect? Of course, it's probably going to depend from one faculty to another. I mean,
Of course,
medicine is
yes.
different from engineering, from
Of course, yes.
commerce, but you know,
Yeah.
we want a general,
Mhm.
you know, advice, a general outlook for those who are entering university for the first time this year.
I expected from your questions as if you are talking about your son or your daughter. I expected something like that. We are all parents, and here I'd like to say that I expected that in one of the universities here in Egypt, I was giving some lectures to the students, and I said many years before that I'm predicting that most of the students are not be obliged in the future to travel from Menofia to Cairo or from Luxor to Cairo. They laughed as if I am talking something funny. I told them, you are going one day, once upon a time, in the future to say that there was a person called Ibrahim Tehewy. He predicted something like that. Why? Here I'm talking practically. Why, as a student, I have to travel from a governorate to another governorate to learn? Why? And now we have all facilities to learn. By your mobile, by your tablet, by your lab, you are going to receive everything you need. But
The face to
but
face and the communication, the personal communication, the interpersonal communication,
okay,
also has its weight when it comes
I know
to
that.
teaching
What
or
prevents
learning.
face-to-face education? What?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because you are going, if you want to watch your lecturer, you are going to watch him. That's okay? He will be in front of you in some programs you may that this like Zoom, for example.
Right.
That's okay?
Right.
You are going to watch and you are going to what? Huh? Chat with
True.
your lecturer. That's right. I'm here talking about what? Secondary stage and university students.
Mm.
You are going to watch him. You are going to ask him as if you are in front of him. That's okay? You are
Yes.
going to be live.
Mhm.
So what's the problem? There is no problem. But here I'd like to indicate the practical universities
Yeah,
or
like
faculties.
medicine,
Yeah.
engineering.
Here, some lecturers, if they are professional enough, they are going to apply everything online also.
Mm.
What prevents him? Nothing prevents him because he is going to visualize himself while, for example, applying anatomy and explaining anatomy in faculty of medicine. He is going to visualize himself in his lab if he is faculty of
How
engineering,
is
for
he
example.
gonna visualize a
Vi-
frog, for example,
We have
sir?
many, yeah, we have many programs. Okay, so for example, I'm going to make an experiment of frog. For example,
Yeah.
I am going to cut it into pieces and to explain every detail for my students. What prevents me to make that visualizing, huh, on air live on these programs, and after that he is going to what, huh, see my students is going or are they are going to watch me step by step. What's now put on our mind, please, excuse me, many operations now in Facebook, you know, sponsored and announced for doctors, they make operations on live Facebook. So I can see, for example, LASIK operations are being done on live in front of me.
So
Okay,
you
sir.
don't
What prevents?
expect. Sorry,
What
Rana.
prevents?
Sorry.
So, okay, the Ministry of Education declared that next year they won't publish books
Yeah.
for secondary stage.
Mhm.
Do you think that the students are gonna be coping with the tablet only?
We have to say why the Minister of Education decided to take this action. Why? Because we have to know as parents, do our sons and daughters use the books? No,
No, my daughters use the books.
use the books. But most of the students used or depended mainly.
On the laptop?
That's okay. Okay? And here, this is one of the facilities. So imagine you are traveling, for example, you are not in Cairo, and you want to stay and spend your weekend at any place. Is it important, is it necessary for your student to take the books and the huge books with him? Or with a small lab? This lab, can you imagine, this tablet will be equipped with, overloaded with, all the programs you can imagine. So which is better? To take a huge bag, which we suffered many years, and you know that I watched it, and I think you watched it. Many young children had to travel from their home, had to travel. You know, I wanted to underline the word traveling because some students spend what 1 hour, 1 hour to reach the schools. They were suffering or not? They were suffering. So I solved this problem. Okay, because you are going to stay most of the time in their home. In the same time, this huge bag full of books will be replaced with what? One small tablet, and in this small tablet, everything Arabic, science, math, whatever the subject is going to be uploaded on this what? On this tablet. So the students, okay, are going to practice every subject on this small tablet, which is better for you.
Uh, we want also advices for younger kids, especially those who are active,
Yeah.
those who are, you, who
Energetic.
make a lot of noises at school,
Hyperactive, you mean?
Yeah.
hyperactive when they are at school, and those who are intelligent, by the way, and they get good grades. But once they got to the e-learning, I mean, in the second term last year, because
Yeah.
of the coronavirus, their grades dropped, or maybe they didn't drop because schools didn't want anybody to be sad, but you as a parent could notice that the level of competency is lower than it was before. So what do we do with these kids? Because these kids, when they are in class in front of their teacher, uh, um, they they understand, they participate, and they learn. But when they are at home, they just want to play PlayStation, like you said, or anything. They're not disciplined enough. And if they do go to the e-learning tools, they're not patient with it, and their parents cannot.
Yeah.
I mean, the role of the parents. What do we do?
Yeah. Here, it's very, very important point of view. But let me say that do most of the students used to practice activities at school only? Do most of the of the governmental schools, for example, have activities at all? No. Okay, let's talk frankly.
Yeah.
So it was a waste of time because there were no activities at school. In the same time, I waste my water, my son time at school because there are no activities. In the same time, you talked about hyperactive students. This is what we call kinesthetic students. They like to learn from what?
Yeah.
Moving and interact. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But here, do our schools apply that? Do most of the students and the teachers apply and respect this what we call in educational field we call learning styles? Do we respect the visual and audible on
Some schools do.
and kinesthetic students? We don't, because most of the teachers are center teacher. Okay, in our training we say that it's very preferable to apply center the class, not center teacher. Do you know the difference between this and that?
Yes.
Center the class, it means that the students are going to participate themselves. Okay, and I can make that and apply that on online. But in center teacher, this is a traditional way. The teacher is talking like a parrot all the time, and he wants to spoon feeding his
Yeah.
student. In activities, also, I'd like to indicate the point of view of activities. You can't imagine that. In my article, I expected that, and I said that because most of the students don't practice activities at school. I said, why don't you take your students early, and instead of staying till 3 or 4 o'clock in his school? It's a waste of time. And frankly, do your sons and daughter practice activities in the club or at schools? Most of our
Mostly
sons
at-
and daughters
mostly at the
at
club.
what?
Yeah.
At clubs.
Okay,
That's great.
Dr. Ibrahim Tehewy, UN Counselor for Training and Development and a member of the International Parliament for Human Development and Certified Trainer. We thank you so much, sir, for, of course, your informative knowledge. And thank you so much for adding knowledge to our program today. Thank you very much for joining us in today's episode of Nile Cruise, sir.
I'm really grateful to you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Ibrahim.
Thanks. Many
Thank
Of
you.
course,
thanks.
dear viewers, this was this segment of Nile Cruise, and it was a very important segment as the COVID-19 resulted in school shuts all across the world. Globally, over 1.2 billion children were out of the classrooms. So this segment was of very importance today because schools are going to be back again on track, and the students are going to be going back to schools. So we had to know more about what is going to happen to our children all over the world. Thank you so much, and stay with us. We're still bringing you more here on Al Cruise International, so don't go away.